Hello, welcome to FXpert Trading, where I use time cycles and median lines along with some other technical analysis to identify potential trade setups. This analysis is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research and take trades based on your own analysis. This is the E-mini futures for the S&P. I'm going to unhide my drawings and we're going to look at some time cycles. This is the same chart, just with some time cycles on it. I want you to ignore these over here above. Those are for peaks. They're generally less reliable. But what's important here is this blue cycle and these orange cycles. Now, time cycles are not always super reliable, but they can be very helpful to help identify potential turning points in the markets for corrections and resumption of an uptrend. In this case, we are just about right on time for this blue cycle here, which is very tradable. This is roughly 70 days. These orange cycles are roughly 2 weeks. And as you can see, we're approaching the end of this longer term cycle. We can confirm the low of this cycle once we get a higher low on one of these orange cycles. We obviously don't have that yet, as we just made a lower low. And because this is right on time, we would expect a higher low, if not this cycle, the next one. Really, we should use these yellow cycles because you want to go one cycle lower. But we'll just move this really quickly. This would be pretty far out to confirm a potential low. If this is even it, it might end up coming over here, and then we'd have to use this. That's really far out to confirm a potential low, and that makes it difficult to trade. However, these yellow cycles here are not super reliable, so I'm not going to go off of those. How is this information useful? How can you use this to trade? Well, with the expectation that we should be resuming higher in the near future, you want to identify areas of support where the market might bounce from. Now, if we just zoom out for a moment, I'll turn these drawings off. We can see we're at a potential retest of this high over here on the futures. If we go to the SPX chart, we have not actually reached that yet. And this zone right here also coincides with this area of potential support right here. Those two factors together would lead me to believe this cycle may extend, which would be very normal for this blue cycle to come in one orange cycle early, which it obviously did not, or one cycle late, which I think is pretty likely at this point, because I would expect us to come down to this support area and or this support area on the SPX before potentially resuming higher. That said, because this is right on time, I did open a very small position where I just sold some puts and left plenty of time on them. I sold them for March, I believe it's March 2nd. March 1st or March 2nd, I don't recall exactly. That way, if it does come lower, there's plenty of time for this to resume higher. What I'm really looking for is going back to the SPX chart. Before putting on a full position, I'd like to see it bounce from a potential support area to help confirm that the blue cycle low is in. An additional confirmation for that would be a cross back above the 8 FLD. So this is the 8 FLD. I'll go into that in more detail in another video. This is just going to be a quick update for a few different tickers. Considering the uncertainty of this low and the idea that I think we will extend, but that doesn't mean that we will. This could very well turn out to be the low. I want to find a good trading opportunity, but because I don't know for sure that the low is here, I don't feel comfortable taking on any full positions here. So I want to look at another ticker to see if I can find something that might coincide with potential further downside in the market. So here we are on Procter & Gamble, ticker PG, and I believe there's further downside to come in PG, and let's take a look at why. And here's where we'll start to look at some median lines. I'm going to unhide my drawing tools. There's a lot here. Just like I said on the last chart, let's ignore the measurements above, as peak analysis is generally less reliable. You can see these pink cycles up here. Yeah, those look pretty good, but in general, it's much less reliable than the trough analysis. So we can use, I'm going to zoom out. I know this is a lot, and I know this does not line up perfectly for this pink cycle. This is a mixed cycle. You have the initial trough and the final trough, and we came both above and below and then closed in the middle, or roughly in the middle. It's a mixed cycle, but this is indeed the trough for this cycle. Anyways, we use the high from that cycle and the low from that cycle, followed by the high of the next cycle, to help determine where the pullback, or if it was a downtrend, to help determine where the continuation of that downtrend might go. And it gives us this median line here. This is a modified Schiff median line. I like to use that for the longer term cycles. For shorter term cycles, I use the standard median lines. And so here we are following the same potential rules using smaller time cycles, these pink cycles. The prior high, followed by the low, followed by what I believe to be the high of the current cycle. And we can see this is a downtrend. This trough broke the prior trough, which would suggest this pink trough, since we are towards the end of a longer term cycle and we should be continuing down, would suggest we should break below this trough, which is in line with our longer term analysis of this potential median line. We can see we have already come close enough to this median line, but now we've returned to the upper warning line. We've found rejection. This is the daily chart. In addition to that rejection, we just back tested this breakdown area right here where we had a lot of support. We broke clear through it. Now we're coming up, we're back testing, and we're rejecting. The rejection from that area, plus the rejection from the median line, plus the anticipation of a lower low on this pink cycle compared to this low, and that we are in a longer term cycle correction right here, and we have that longer term median line, would suggest this is a good opportunity, a good area to short PG. Additionally, we have this one-to-one measurement of this move right here. Now, that does not need to be fulfilled. We also have this one-to-one measurement of this move right here. And I'm putting it here. This is actually the high over here, but this is a pretty steep move down. I don't think we'll necessarily replicate that. But we have both of these one-to-one measurements coming right into here, right near where both of these median lines are, lined up with both of these potential trough zones. And they also bring us right back into this potential support area. So all of that considered, while I do not want to short the S&P right now until I get further confirmation on a shorter term time cycle, this is an excellent entry in my opinion. You should of course do your own research for a potential short. And in fact, on Monday when the market opens, as long as it does not gap down in a big way or gap up above up here, I will be opening a short position with a target of, I'll probably take profit around 140. That's the upper end of this area or potential area of support over here. I'm not going to get into them today, but you can see I have some shorter term cycles in here on the ES. I use those for a lower time frame, and if we do indeed start to break below some of those lows, that will confirm that we will be moving lower during this next orange cycle, in which case if I flip back to the SPX, you can see I have some median lines on here. This median line and this median line, we don't need to correct to those. We've already come to this one. We don't need to correct down here. But again, I'd just be looking for the S&P to come back into this zone. I also use this type of analysis to trade the Forex markets. This is the USDJPY on the daily chart. And when I unhide these drawing tools, you're going to see the same things. You're going to see time cycles and median lines. I know this is a bit of a mess, but I wanted to zoom out really far to show you a very long-term median line set that we have on, that we've already fulfilled. And now we are finding support again on the lower warning line of this median line set. At the same time, where we have one of these longer-term pink cycles, one of these blue cycles, expected to give us a trough. We have bounced off that trough. We can confirm that trough here with a cross above the 8 FLD. And I should have mentioned this before, but the FLD is going to change in accordance with whatever time frame you're on. I use different FLD lengths to determine troughs for different assets, and also I use different or potentially the same FLD length but on a different time frame to confirm different troughs for different time cycles. For the USDJPY, I like using the 8 FLD on the 3-hour time frame for the orange cycles. And it also happens to be that I like the 8 FLD to confirm on the daily chart these longer time cycles. Now you can see these are not perfect, right? We see the last time we troughed for this pink cycle, which is where I believe we're troughing now. The orange cycle, well, that was not perfect. We did come down much further. We may do something like that again right now, but I am going to go down to the 3-hour and see if we can find a setup. Okay, so we're currently above the 8 FLD on the 3-hour. We're at this trough zone. What I'd like to see is it comes down a little further, maybe on Monday or Tuesday, and then crosses back above. And that will give us a trade opportunity looking for the longer term median line here. Now, I'm not just going to set all of my target there. As I mentioned before, it can potentially ultimately come down and break below this trough in this purple cycle before continuing higher. So if I do get an entry, which again, I want some clear price action below this FLD, followed by a clear break above. I will then take some profit at 2 to 1. If I have multiple median line targets, I'll take different amounts of profit at 2 to 1 and any other potential targets. In this case, probably take half at 2 to 1 and then leave the other half to run towards this longer term median line set. This median line set is, well, the low from the prior pink cycle, the high from the prior pink cycle, followed by what I believe to be the trough right here. That gives us this median line, and that should ultimately be our target for this new pink cycle. And as you can see, if we achieve that target, it does not mean we're necessarily going to get to new highs. If you wanted to be more aggressive, and sometimes I am, but at this point in time, I'm not going to be, maybe not until another orange cycle or two goes by. You could leave a piece on, aiming for this longer term median line set. But what I might want to see first is we get maybe a more prominent, perhaps when we get like to the mid-cycle trough here of this blue cycle, if it appears as if we have some strength, then I might start leaving pieces on to try to reach that other median line. Both this, along with the potential high in place for the S&P, coincide with a longer term low in the dollar, which I'm not going to go over today. But if you would like to see me provide analysis like this, where you could potentially learn more about how to use time cycles and median lines for your trading, I will do updates on everything I covered today, along with other tickers and other Forex pairs in the future. So if that's something you're interested in, please like and subscribe to the video, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.